All right, welcome everyone. You've almost certainly seen this online. The person who's the loudest moral critic, but somehow seems to have the biggest blind spots themselves. It's a fascinating pattern, right? Well, today we're going to unpack it. We're going to dig into where this behavior comes from and its surprising roots in both ancient theology and modern psychology.
Okay, so let's just dive right into the heart of it with this question. I mean, we all know the type, don't we? That person who's always on a crusade, constantly pointing out everyone else's flaws, but they seem totally blind to their own. So what's really going on there? Why are the loudest voices often the least self-aware?
Wow, this quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures what's happening. The whole idea is that their sense of being good or virtuous isn't built on their own actions, not at all. It's built by obsessively focusing on where other people fall short. It's about propping yourself up by tearing someone else down.
Okay, so to really get this, we need to look at a distinction, a really old one actually. It's this timeless idea that there are two fundamentally different ways a person can fail. And understanding this difference, well, it explains a lot. So look at this breakdown. It's really clear. On one side, you've got failure from weakness. This is, just being human. You mess up, you know you messed up, you feel bad about it, and you try to do better. It leads to growth. But then you have the other kind, failure from arrogance. And this is totally different. This is when someone messes up, but they believe they had every right to do what they did. They think they are the standard. So there's no remorse, no self-correction. It's just denial. One path is about humility, the other is just pure hubris. And this failure from arrogance actually has a name. It's called istikbar. And it's not just about making a mistake. It's a defiant rejection of any kind of authority or accountability. The person basically says, I answer to no one. And here's the crucial part. This kind of failure, this arrogance, is seen as way, way more destructive than a simple failure from weakness. It's the difference between admitting you're flawed and believing you're flawless.
Okay, so let's bring this into the modern day. What's fascinating is how this ancient idea maps almost perfectly onto modern psychology. We now have a precise scientific vocabulary for this exact same pattern of prideful behavior.
I mean, it's pretty wild, right? This ancient spiritual concept lines up directly with these well-documented psychological principles. The labels are different, sure, but the underlying behavior, it's identical. So the first big one is something called psychological projection. And it's pretty straightforward. It's when you take the things you don't like about yourself, your own doubts, your own flaws, and you basically pin them on other people. By shouting about how arrogant or hypocritical someone else is, you cleverly shield yourself from having to see it in your own mirror. It's a classic defense mechanism. Next up, we've got this cognitive bias called the fundamental attribution error. This one's a classic. It's this tendency we all have where if someone else fails, we chalk it up to their character. We say, oh, they're just a bad person. But if we fail, oh no, that was because of the circumstances, right? I was just having a bad day. It's a double standard that lets our own ego off the hook. And all this stuff, it kind of leads to this, a defensive superiority complex. This is really the endgame. It's when someone relentlessly, almost obsessively, hunts for faults in other people just to prop up their own fragile sense of self-worth. Their feeling of being superior isn't built on anything real like their own achievements. It's built on the ritual of making other people seem small. It's a really fragile way to live. Okay, so with all that in mind, how can you actually spot this pattern out there in the real world? Because there are some really clear rhetorical tells, especially online. Let's break them down. You really gotta pay attention to the language they use. First, they play armchair psychologist. They don't talk about what happened. They jump straight to why it happened, claiming they know someone's secret, hidden motives. Second, they love to generalize with these big, loaded labels. You'll hear things like, people like you always. It's a way to erase any nuance. Third, they create this simple us versus them world. You're either a righteous ally who agrees with them, or you're a tainted enemy. And finally, watch how they always contrast themselves with their target. It's always framed to highlight how they would never do something so wrong. These are all giant red flags.
All right, let's get to the core of it. What is the real motivation here? What are these people actually trying to get?
So here it is, the Projective Moralizer. They're claiming moral status, but they're doing it by tearing down other people's integrity. They want to be seen as virtuous, but without doing any of the hard internal work that it actually takes to become a good person. It's a total shortcut. And you know what? This has a close cousin. The intellectual plagiarist. They want to look super smart and insightful, but they haven't done the reading or the thinking. So what do? They just pass off other people's ideas as their own. It's the exact same game. And this is really the core deception. See, both of them are chasing unearned status. They are trying to avoid the hard work. It's an attempt to grab a position of superiority without earning it, without the self-reflection, the sincere effort, or the diligent work that authentic growth actually requires. Okay, so recognizing the pattern is step one. But what's step two? How do we resist this kind of thing? And maybe more importantly, how do we make sure we don't fall into that trap ourselves? So here are a few principles that can really help. First, choose humility over policing. Focus on your own personal growth, not on making a list of everyone else's mistakes. Second, learn to tell the difference between real analysis and simple projection. Valid critique is about conduct and finding solutions. Projection just attacks character. Third, ask this question: what has this person actually built themselves? A platform that's all about tearing things down, that signals weakness, not strength. And finally, demand attribution. Don't amplify claims that have no source. Real guides are happy to credit where they learned things. And that really leaves us with one final vital question. A question to ask of others, sure, but maybe more importantly, a question to ask of ourselves. Is your platform built on construction, or is it built on demolition? Because when it comes right down to it, true strength, real stature, it doesn't come from tearing others down. It comes from what you build.